7 cures for a lean purse. The glory of Babylon endures. Down through the ages its reputation comes to us as the richest of cities, its treasures as fabulous. Yet it was not always so. The riches of Babylon were the results of the wisdom of its people. They first had to learn how to become wealthy. When the good King Sargon returned to Babylon after defending his enemies the Elamites, he was confronted with a serious situation. The royal counselor explained it to the king thus: "After many years of great prosperity brought to our people because your majesty built the great irrigation canals and the mighty temples of the gods, now that these works are completed, the people seem unable to support themselves. The laborers are without employment, the merchants have few customers, the farmers are unable to sell their products, the people have not enough gold to buy food." "But where has all the gold gone that we spent for these great improvements?" demanded the king. "It has found its way, I fear," responded the counselor, "into the possessions of a few very rich men of our city. It filtered through the fingers of most of our people as quickly as the goat's milk goes through the strainer. Now that the stream of gold has ceased to flow, most of our people have nothing to show for their earnings." The king was thoughtful for some time. Then he asked, "Why should so few men be able to acquire all the gold?" "Because they know how," replied the counselor. "One may not condemn a man for succeeding because he knows how. Neither may one with justice take away from a man what he has fairly earned, to give to men of less ability." "But why," demanded the king, "should not all people learn how to accumulate gold and therefore become themselves rich and prosperous?" "Quite possible, your excellency. But who can teach them?" "Certainly not the priest, because they know not of money-making." "Who knows best in all our city how to become wealthy, counselor?" asked the king. "Your question answers itself, your majesty. Who has amassed the greatest wealth in Babylon?" "Well said, my able counselor. It is Arcad. He is the richest man in Babylon. Bring him before me tomorrow." Upon the following day, as the king had decreed, Arcad appeared before him, straight and sprightly despite his 60 years and 10. "Arcad," spoke the king, "is it true you are the richest man in Babylon?" "So it is reported, your majesty, and no man disputes it." "How did you become so wealthy?" "By taking advantage of opportunities available to all citizens of our good city." "You had nothing to start with?" "Only a great desire for wealth. Besides this, nothing." "Arcad," continued the king, "our city is in a very unhappy state because a few men know how to acquire wealth and therefore monopolize it, while the mass of our citizens lack the knowledge of how to keep any part of the gold they receive. It is my desire that Babylon be the wealthiest city in the world. Therefore, it must be a city of many wealthy men. Therefore, we must teach all the people how to acquire riches. Tell me, Arcad, is there any secret to acquiring wealth? Can it be taught?" "It is practical, your majesty. That which one man knows can be taught to others." The king's eyes glowed. "Arcad, you spoke the words I wish to hear. Will you lend yourself to this great cause? Will you teach your knowledge to a school for teachers, each of whom shall teach others until there are enough trained to teach these truths to every worthy subject in my domain?" Arcad bowed and said, "I am your humble servant to command. Whatever knowledge I possess will I gladly give for the betterment of my fellowmen and the glory for my king. Let your good counselor arrange for me a class of 100 men, and I will teach to them those 7 cures which did fatten my purse, than which there was none leaner in all Babylon." A fortnight later, in compliance with the king's command, the chosen 100 assembled in the great hall of the Temple of Learning, seated upon colorful rings in a semicircle. Arcad sat beside a small tabret upon which smoked a sacred lamp, sending forth a strange and pleasant odor. "Behold, the richest man in Babylon," whispered a student, nudging his neighbor as Arcad arose. "He is but a man even as the rest of us." "As a dutiful subject of our great king," Arcad began, "I stand before you in his service. Because once I was a poor youth who did greatly desire gold, and because I found knowledge that enabled me to acquire it, he asks that I impart unto you my knowledge. I started my fortune in the humblest way. I had no advantage not enjoyed as fully by you and every citizen in Babylon. The first storehouse of my treasure was a well-worn purse. I loathed its useless emptiness. I desired that it be round and full, clinging with the sound of gold. Therefore I sought every remedy for a lean purse. I found 7. To you who are assembled before me, shall I explain the 7 cures for a lean purse, which I do recommend to all men who desire much gold. Each day, for 7 days, will I explain to you one of the 7 remedies. Listen attentively to the knowledge that I will impart. Debate it with me, discuss it among yourselves. Learn these lessons thoroughly, that you may also plant in your own purse the seed of wealth. First must each of you start wisely to build a fortune of his own. Then will you be competent, and only then to teach these truths to others. I shall teach to you in simple ways how to fatten your purses. This is the first step leading to the temple of wealth. And no man may climb who cannot plant his feet firmly upon the first step. We shall now consider the first cure. The first cure. Start your purse to fattening. Argat addressed a thoughtful man in the second row. My good friend, at what craft do you work? I, replied the man, am a scribe, and carve records upon the clay. Even at such labor did I myself earn my first coppers. Therefore you have the same opportunity to build a fortune. He spoke to a florid-faced man farther back. Pray, tell also what you do to earn your bread. I, responded this man, am a meat butcher. I do buy the goats the farmers raise and kill them, and sell the meat to the housewives and the hides to the sandal maker. Because you also labor and earn, you also have every advantage to succeed that I did possess. In this way, Argat proceeded to find out how each man labored to earn his living. When he had done questioning them, he said, Now, my students, you can see that there are many trades and labors at which men may earn coins. Each of the ways of earning is a stream of gold from which the worker does divert by his labors a portion to his own purse. Therefore, into the purse of each of you flows a stream of coins, large or small, according to his ability. Is it not so? Thereupon they agreed that it was so. Then continued Argat, if each of you desires to build for himself a fortune, is it not wise to start by utilizing that source of wealth which he has already established? To this they agreed. Then Argat turned to a humble man who had declared himself an egg merchant. If you select one of your baskets and put into it each morning 10 eggs and take out from it each evening 9 eggs, what will eventually happen? It will become in time overflowing. Why? Because each day I put in 1 more egg than I take out. Argat turned to the class with a smile. Does any man here have a lean purse? First they looked amused, then they laughed. Lastly, they waved their purses in jest. All right, he continued. Now I shall tell to you the first remedy I learned to cure a lean purse. Do exactly as I have suggested to the egg merchant. For every 10 coins you place within your purse, take out for use but 9. Your purse will start to fatten at once, and its increasing weight will feel good in your hand and bring satisfaction to your soul. Deride not what I say because of its simplicity. Truth is always simple. I told you I would tell how I built my fortune. This was my beginning. I, too, carried a lean purse and cursed it because there was not within to satisfy my desires. But when I began to take out from my purse but 9 parts of 10 I put in, it began to fatten. So will yours. Now I will tell a strange truth, the reason for which I know not. When I gazed to pay out more than 9/10 of my earning, I managed to get along just as well. I was no shorter than before. Also, until long did coins come to me easily than before. Surely it is a law of the gods that unto him who keeps and spends not a certain part of all his earnings shall gold come more easily. Likewise, him whose purse is empty does gold avoid. Which do you desire the most? Is it the gratification of your desires of each day, a jewel, a bit of finery, better raiment, more food, things quickly gone and forgotten? Or is it substantial belongings, gold, lands, herds, merchandise, income-bringing investments? The coin you take from your purse bring the first. The coins you leave within it will bring the later. This, my students, was the first cure I did discover for my lean purse. Debate this among yourselves. If any man proves it untrue, tell me upon tomorrow when we shall meet again. The second cure. Control your expenditures. Some of your members, my students, have asked me this. How can a man keep 1/10 of all he earns in his purse when all the coins he earns are not enough for his necessary expenses? So did Arcad address his students upon the second day. Yesterday, how many of you carried lean purses? All of us, answered the class. Yet you do not all earn the same. Some earn much more than others. Some have much larger families to support. Yet all purses were equally lean. Now I will tell you an unusual truth about men and sons of men. It is this, that what each of us calls our necessary expenses will always grow to equal our incomes unless we protest to the contrary. Confuse not the necessary expenses with your desires. Each of you, together with your good families, have more desires than your earnings can gratify. Therefore are your earnings spent to gratify these desires insofar as they will go. Still you may retain ungratified desires. All men are burdened with more desires than they can gratify. Because of my will do you think I may gratify every desire? It's a false idea. There are limits to my time, there are limits to my strength. There are limits to the distance I may travel, there are limits to what I may eat. There are limits to the jest which I may enjoy. I say to you that just as weeds grow in a field wherever the farmer leaves space for their roots, even so freely do desires grow in men whenever there is a possibility of their being gratified. Your desires are a multitude, and those that you may gratify are but few. Study thoughtfully your accustomed habits of living. Herein may be most often found certain accepted expenses that may wisely be reduced or eliminated. Let your motive be 100% of appreciated value demanded for each coin spent. Thereupon engrave upon the clay each thing for which you desire to spend. Select those that are necessary and others that are not possible to the expenditure of 9/10 of your income. Cross out the rest and consider them but a part of that great multitude of desires that must go unsatisfied, and regret them not. Budget then your necessary expenses, touch not the 1/10 that is fattening your purse. Let this be your great desire that is being fulfilled. Keep working with your budget, keep adjusting it to help you. Make it your first assistance in defending your fattening purse. Hereupon one of the students, wearing a robe of red and gold, arose and said, I am a free man. I believe that it is my right to enjoy the good things of life. Therefore do I rebel against the slavery of a budget which determines just how much I may spend and for what. I feel it would take much pleasure for my life and make me little more than a pack-ass to carry a burden. To him Arcad replied, Who, my friend, would determine your budget? I would make it for myself, responded the protesting one. In that case, were a pack-ass to budget his burden, would include therein jewels and rugs and heavy bars of gold? Not so, he would include hay and grain and a bag of water for the desert trail. The purpose of a budget is to help your purse to fatten. It is to assist you to have your necessities and, insofar as attainable, your other desires. It is to enable you to realize your most cherished desires by defending them from your casual wishes. Like a bright light in a dark cave, your budget shows up the leaks from your purse and enables you to stop them and control your expenses. This then is the second cure for a lean purse. Budget your expenses that you may have coins to pay for your necessities, to pay for your enjoyments, and to gratify your worthwhile desires without spending more than 9/10 of your earnings. The third cure, make your gold multiply. Behold, your lean purse is fattening. You have disciplined yourself to leave therein 1/10 of all you earn. You have controlled your expenditures to protect your growing treasure. Next, we will consider means to put your treasure to labor and to increase. Gold in a purse is gratifying to own and satisfy a miserly soul, but earns nothing. The gold we may retain from our earnings is but the start. The earning it will make shall build our fortunes. So spoke Arcad upon the third day to his class. How therefore may we put our gold to work? My first investment was unfortunate, for I lost all. Its tale I will relate later. My first profitable investment was a loan I made to a man named Agar, a shield maker. Once each year did he buy large shipments of bronze brought from across the sea to use in his trade. Lacking sufficient capital to pay the merchants, he would borrow from those who had extra coins. He was an honorable man. His borrowing he would repay together with a liberal rental as he sold his seals. Each time I loaned to him, I loaned back also the rental he had paid to me. Therefore not only my capital increased, but its earnings likewise increased. Most gratifying was it to have these sums returned to my purse. I tell you, my students, a man's wealth is not in the coins he carries in his purse. It is the income that he builds, the golden stream that continually flows in his purse and keeps it always bulging. That is what every man desires. That is what each one of you desires, an income that continues to come whether you work or travel. Great income I have acquired, so great that I am called a very rich man. My loans to Agar were my first training in profitable investment. Gaining wisdom from this experience, I extended my loans and investments as my capital increased. From a few sources at first, from many sources later, flowed into my purse a golden stream of wealth available for such wise uses as I should decide. Behold my humble earnings, I had begotten a horde of golden slaves, each laboring and earning more gold. As they labored for me, their children also labored, and their children's children, until great was the income from their combined efforts. Gold increases rapidly when making reasonable earnings, as you will see from the following. A farmer, when his first son was born, took 10 pieces of silver to a money lender and asked him to keep it on rental for his son until he became 20 years of age. This the money lender did, and agreed the rental should be 1/4 of his value each 4 years. The farmer asked because this sum he had set aside as belonging to his son, that the rental be added to the principal. When the boy had reached the age of 20, the farmer again went to the money lender to inquire about the silver. The money lender explained that because this sum had been increased by compound interest, the original 10 pieces of silver had now grown to 30 1/2 pieces. The farmer was well pleased, and because the son did not need the coins, he left them with the money lender. When the son became 50 years of age, the father, meantime having passed to the other world, the money lender paid the son in settlement 167 pieces of silver. Thus in 50 years the investment had multiplied itself at rental almost 17 times. This then is the third cure for a lean purse, to put each coin to laboring that it may reproduce its kind even as the flocks of the field, and help bring to you income, a stream of wealth that shall flow constantly into your purse. The fourth cure, guard your treasures from loss. Misfortune loves a shining mark. Gold in a man's purse must be guarded with firmness, else it be lost. Thus, it is wise that we must first secure small amounts and learn to protect them before the gods entrust us with larger. So spoke Arcad upon the fourth day to his class. Every owner of gold is tempted by opportunities whereby it would seem that he would make large sums by its investments in most plausible projects. Often friends and relatives are eagerly entering such investments and urge him to follow. The first sound principle of investment is security of your principal. Is it wise to be intrigued by larger earnings when your principal may be lost? I say not. The penalty of risk is probable loss. Study carefully before parting with your treasure, each assurance that it may be safely reclaimed. Be not misled by your own romantic desires to make wealth rapidly grow. Before you loan it to any man, assure yourself of his ability to repay and his reputation for doing so, that you may not unwittingly be making him a present of your hard-earned treasure. Before you entrust it as an investment in any field, acquaint yourself with the dangers which may beset it. My own first investment was a tragedy to me at the time. The guarded savings of a year I did entrust to a brickmaker named Asmur, who was traveling over the far seas, and in Tyre agreed to buy for me the rail jewels of the Phoenicians. These we would sell upon his return and divide the profits. The Phoenicians were scoundrels and sold him bits of glass. My treasure was lost. Today my training would show to me at once the folly of entrusting a brickmaker to buy jewels. Therefore do I advise you from the wisdom of my experiences, be not too confident of your own wisdom, entrusting your treasures to the possible pitfalls of investments. Better by far to consult the wisdom of those experienced in handling money for profits. Such advice is freely given for the asking and may readily possess a value equal in gold to the sum you consider investing. In truth, such is its actual value if it save you from loss. This then is the fourth cure for a lean purse, and of great importance if it prevent your purse from being emptied once it has become well filled. Guard your treasure from loss by investing only where your principal is safe, where it may be reclaimed if desirable, and where you will not fail to collect a fair rental. Consult with wise men, secure the advice of those inexperienced in the profitable handling of gold. Let their wisdom protect your treasure from unsafe investments. The fifth cure. Make of your dwelling a profitable investment. If a man settles aside 9 parts of his earnings upon which to live and enjoy life, and if any part of these 9 parts he can turn into a profitable investment without detriment to his well-being, then so much faster will his treasures grow. So spoke Arka to his class at their 5th lesson. Although many of our men of Babylon do raise their families in unseemly quarters, they do pay to exacting landlords liberal rentals for rooms where their wives have not a spot to raise the blooms that gladden a woman's heart, and their children have no place to play their games except in the unclean alleys. No man's family can fully enjoy life unless they do have a plot of ground wherein children can play in the clean earth, and where the wife may arise not only blossoms but good rich herbs to feed her family. To a man's heart it brings gladness to eat the figs from his own trees and the grapes of his own vines. To own his own domicile and to have it a place he is proud to care for puts confidence in his heart and greater effort behind all his endeavors. Therefore do I recommend that every man own the roof that shelters him and his. Nor is it beyond the ability of any well-intentioned man to own his home. Has not our great king so widely extended the walls of Babylon that within them much land is now unused and may be purchased at sums most reasonable? Also I say to you, my students, that the money lender gladly consider the desires of men who seek homes and land for their families. Readily you may borrow to pay the brickmaker and the builder from such commendable purposes if you can show a reasonable portion of your necessary sum which you yourself have provided for the purpose. Then when the house be built, you can pay the money lender with the same regularity as you did pay the landlord. Because each payment will reduce your indebtedness to the money lender, a few years will satisfy his loan. Then your heart will be glad because you will own in your own right a valuable property, and your only cost will be the king's taxes. Also will your good wife go more often to the river to wash your robes, that each time returning she may bring a good skin of water to pour upon the growing things. Thus come many blessings to the man who owns his own house, and greatly will it reduce his cost of living, making available more of his earnings for pleasures and for the gratification of his desires. This then is the 5th cure for a lean purse: own your own home. The 6th cure: ensure a future income. The life of every man proceeds from his childhood to his old age. This is the path of life, and no man may deviate from it unless the gods call him prematurely to the world beyond. Therefore do I say that it behooves a man to make preparation for a suitable income in the days to come, when he is no longer younger, and to make preparation for his family should he be no longer with them to comfort and support them. This lesson shall instruct you in providing a full purse when time has made you less able to earn. So Arcad addressed his class upon the 6th day. The man who, because of his understanding of the laws of wealth, acquires a growing surplus should give thought to those future days. He should plan certain investments or provisions that may endure safely for many years, yet will be available when the time arrives which he has so wisely anticipated. There are diverse ways by which a man may provide with safety for his future. He may provide a hiding place and there bury a secret treasure. Yet no matter with what skill it be hidden, it may nevertheless become the loot of thieves. For this I recommend not this plan. A man may buy houses or lands for this purpose. If wisely chosen as to their usefulness and value in the future, they are permanent in their value, and their earnings or their sale will provide well for his purpose. A man may loan a small sum to the moneylender and increase it at regular periods. The rental which the moneylender adds to this will largely add to its increase. I do know a sandal maker named Asan who explained to me not long ago that each week for 8 years he had deposited with his moneylender 2 pieces of silver. The moneylender had but recently given him an accounting over which he greatly rejoiced. The total of his small deposits with their rental at the customary rate of 1/4 their value for each 4 years had now become 1,040 pieces of silver. I did gladly encourage him further by demonstrating to him with my knowledge for the numbers that in 12 years more, if he would keep his regular deposits of but 2 pieces of silver each week, the moneylender would then owe him 4,000 pieces of silver, a worthy competence for the rest of his life. Surely, when such a small payment made with regularity does produce such profitable results, no man can afford not to insure a treasure for his old age and the protection of his family, no matter how prosperous his business and his investments may be. I will that I might say more about this. In my mind rests a belief that someday wise-thinking men will devise a plan to insure against death, whereby many men pay in but a trifling sum regularly, the aggregate making a handsome sum for his family of each member who passes to the beyond. This do I see as something desirable and which I could highly recommend. But today it is not possible because it must reach beyond the life of any man or any partnership to operate. It must be as stable as the king's throne. Someday do I feel that such a plan shall come to pass and be a great blessing to many men, because even the first payment will make available a snug fortune for the family of a member should he pass on. But because we live in our own day and not in the days which are to come, must we take advantage of those means and ways of accomplishing our purposes. Therefore do I recommend to all men that they, by wise and well thought out methods, do provide against a lean purse to a man no longer be able to earn, or to a family without its head is a sore tragedy. This then is the sixth cure for a lean purse: provide in advance for the needs of your growing age and the protection of your family. The seventh cure: increase your ability to earn. This day do I speak to you, my students, of one of the most vital remedies for a lean purse. Yet I will talk not the gold but of yourselves, of the men beneath the robes of many colors who do sit before me. I will talk to you of those men within the minds and lives of men which do work for or against their success. So did Arcad address his class upon the seventh day. Not long ago came to me a young man seeking to borrow. When I questioned him the cause of his necessity, he complained that his earnings were insufficient to pay his expenses. Thereupon I explained to him, this being the case, he was a poor customer for the moneylender, as he possessed no surplus earning capacity to repay the loan. What you need, young man, I told him, is to earn more coins. What do you do to increase your capacity to earn? All that I can do, he replied. 6 times within 2 moons have I approached my master to request my pay be increased, but without success. No man can go more oftener than that. We may smile at his simplicity, yet he did possess one of the vital requirements to increase his earnings. Within him was a strong desire to earn more, a proper and commendable desire. Preceding accomplishments must be desire. Your desire must be strong and definite. General desires are but weak longings. For a man to wish to be rich is of little purpose. For a man to desire 5 pieces of gold is a tangible desire which he can press to fulfillment. After he has backed his desire for 5 pieces of gold with the strength of purpose to secure it, next he can find similar ways to obtain 10 pieces and then 20 pieces and later 1,000 pieces, and behold, he has become wealthy. In learning to secure his own definite small sums, in larger ones as a man learns and becomes more capable. Desires must be simple and definite. They defeat their own purpose should they be too many, too confusing or beyond a man's training to accomplish. As a man perfects him in his calling, even so does his ability to earn increase. In those days when I was a humble scribe carving upon the clay for a few coppers each day, I observed that other workers did more than I and were paid more. Therefore did I determine that I would be exceeded by none. Nor did it take long for me to discover the reason for their great success. More interest in my work, more concentration upon my task, more persistent in my effort, and behold, few men could carve more tablets in a day than I. With reasonable promptness, my increased skill was rewarded, nor was it necessary for me to go 6 times to my master to request recognition. The more of wisdom we know, the more we may earn. That man who seeks to learn more of his craft shall be richly rewarded. If he is an artisan, he may seek to learn the methods and the tools of those most skillful in the same line. If he labors at the law or at the healing, he may consult and exchange knowledge with others of his calling. If he be a merchant, he may continually seek better goods that can be purchased at lower prices. Always so the affairs of man change and improve, because keen-minded men seek greater skill, that they may better serve those upon whose patronage they depend. Therefore I urge all men to be in the front rank of progress and not to stand still, lest they be left behind. Many things come to make a man's life rich and gainful experiences. Such things as the following a man must do if he respects himself. He must pay his debts with all the promptness within his power, not purchasing that for which he is unable to pay. He must take care of his family, that they may think and speak well of him. He must make a will of record that in case the gods call him, proper and honorable division of his property be accomplished. He must have compassion upon those who are injured and smitten by misfortune and aid them with reasonable limits. He must do deeds of thoughtfulness to those dear to him. Thus, the seventh and last remedy for a lean purse is to cultivate your own powers, to study and become wiser, to become more skillful, to so act as to respect yourself. Thereby shall you acquire confidence in yourself to achieve your carefully considered desires. These then are the 7 cures for a lean purse, which out of the experience of a long and successful life, I do urge for all men who desire wealth. There are more gold in Babylon, my students, than you can dream of. There is abundance for all. Go forth and practice these truths that you may prosper and grow wealthy as in your right. Go forth and teach these truths that every honorable subject of His Majesty may also share liberally in His ample wealth of our beloved city.